Welcome back to Getting Real. This is the podcast where we cut through the fluff and talk about the real journey of creating wealth, freedom, and joy through real estate investing. I'm your host, Monique Hom, and I'm super excited about our guest today. We often you'll see on social media or on these podcasts like the highlight reels of things, the big checks, the beautiful properties, the before and after reveals. But behind every success story is grit, is courage, and lessons learned the hard way. So today's guest really embodies that perfectly. Linda Holtz is a multifamily investor, property management expert, and co-founder of MTRE. She helps busy professionals build generational wealth through smart passive investments, and her journey is incredible. She came to the US from France in 2012 with nothing but 2 suitcases and a dream. Fast forward a decade plus later, and she's built a thriving real estate career and is inspiring others to secure their financial futures. Welcome, Linda. I am so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. I'm super excited to be here too and share my story, but also, get to know you and get to know everyone. So I'm super, super happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm happy to have you. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. You land in the US, you just have a couple of suitcases, and which must have felt equal parts like exciting and terrifying. So
Yes.
What was going through your mind back then, and what gave you the courage to start over in a new country?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say thank you for making me feel good about it. It was both just as hard and not as hard as what it sounds like, at least in my opinion. And so here's why. So basically, when I was going through my master's degree, I was doing a business school in Paris, where I'm from. And part of the curriculum was to spend the summer in New York. So the very first time that I actually lived here or semi lived here, even though it was only for a summer, I was with all my friends from school. And yes, it was very interesting. It was my first time being living outside of my country, but it didn't feel real yet. It felt like this is just for the summer and I'm surrounded by all my friends. Like every day when I go to school, I see all familiar faces from back home. So that was the part that made it easy once I decided to actually stay. The part that made it hard is that basically I told myself, so I was finishing my master's, which in France is 2 years. So that was between year 1 and 2. And the second year I was supposed to do an internship. So I told myself, if I can find a job here in New York, that will be my internship and it will allow me to stay another year. So that's what I focused on the end of the summer, right? Like I probably had that idea around mid-August or something like that. And I was like, okay, you have a couple of weeks to make this happen. If it does happen, it's meant to be. If not, I'm big on signs. I'm big on like everything happens for a reason. So I was like, if it does not happen, then that's fine. Moving on. So I did find a job and I did come back. And that was the part where it was a little unsettling, is that when I did, so I had to go back home. Obviously, I was only here for the summer at first. So I had to go back home and figure out my paperwork and tell my parents, like, hey, I'm actually going to go live in the United States by myself for a year. But when I did come back, it very much felt like, okay, now I kind of know the city because I lived here for the whole summer, but I never lived here alone. I've never lived here full time. Obviously, going during the summer as a student is very different than being an adult who has like, responsibilities and rent to pay and all that kind of stuff. So that part was the daunting portion of it, where I was like, okay, I have made that decision and now I have to live by it. Like I have made my bed and it's time to lie in it. And it was a lot, but at the end of the day, it's been 13 years now, believe it or not. It's crazy. So if I'm still here, I guess it worked out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you came as a student, you got that job. I guess the stars aligned. It was meant to be. And then how did you get into real estate investing or tell us about your journey to get into real estate.
Yeah, for sure. So that first job that I found, was actually door-to-door sales. So first of all, it was very easy to find. Trust me, I didn't realize. I didn't realize until I was on the other side that like, oh, that's why I was able to find a job in 2 weeks as somebody who barely spoke English. But I always tell people that was one of the best life lessons ever. I ended up doing that for 2 years, and I learned so much about goals, and I learned so much about myself. But most importantly, I learned about people, and like really how to keep an attitude of gratitude at all time. Always be ready to flip people, right? Like even when they're having a bad day or you're having a bad day, always have that energy to continue to, first of all, to keep going and keep working on your goals no matter what happens, but also find a way to like make people have a good time. And it doesn't matter if we end up doing business or not, but at least I'm going to leave your house with a smile, or your business, because I did both, B2B and B2C.
What were
But
you selling?
I'm sorry.
What were you selling?
Oh, I did so many things. So first I did energy, then I did telecom. So Verizon B2C, B2B, B2B, yeah. Energy was direct to customer, and then I did businesses with Verizon, and then I did a long time of charity on the street and door to door to people. So on the street was fun, to say the least, because it was literally me and my friends all day, every day outside, catching people the way that, what's a charity that does it a lot? Greenpeace used to do that a lot. I don't know if they still do. So that was me, except my charity helps children back in the days.
That is such good learning. It's
Yes.
yeah, it's good training for life. Being able to handle rejections and like get attention. And I loved your intention to leave everyone you interact with better off, happier after having interacted with you. So,
Exactly. And one thing that I really did not see coming is that, so I learned all of that doing sales. I had always worked in sales before, like during student jobs and whatnot. And several people in my family are salespeople to this day. So for me, it was very natural, but I never anticipated how much it was going to help me in real estate, because my first job in that industry was actually in property management. And I realized very early on, those are all the same skills you need. You need to have very thick skin. You need to like stay laser focused on helping the people, no matter how angry they are. You need to be able to like find the silver lining and make them see it. And you need to be able to leave people with a smile on their face at the end. Now in real estate, it might take a little bit longer, right? If somebody is dealing with a major leak or something like that, it might take weeks until it's all completed rather than 30 minutes on the street. But that really translated well for me. And that's really how I got into real estate. I had no clue what property management was. I just got recruited for my people skills. And I was like, yeah, that seems like the same job, except it's in an office and I have AC during the summer and heat during the winter. So sign me up.
all of that.
And eventually I went from property management to deciding, hey, if I'm going to manage other people's properties, I might as well own them. And here we are.
Wow. Okay. So now multifamily investing, that's a big jump. It can feel very intimidating, right? Big numbers, big responsibilities. So tell us about your first, because you started in multifamily, right? That was your first investment, or did you start smaller and then move to multifamily?
So I did start smaller,
Okay.
but technically it was a multifamily because my very first property was a triplex.
Okay.
So I house hacked that with my then boyfriend, now husband. So we lived in the middle unit and we had people living above and under us who were our renters. So we were the landlords.
Okay. Awesome. I love that. I started house hacking too. And then, so after you did that, then when did you go into large multifamily?
Yeah. So basically, at that point, by the time we bought the triplex, so let me backtrack real quick. My husband has experience in property management too, because both his mother and sister are also in property management to this day. And so that's how we met. So it was kind of always in the family blood to manage other people's properties. So very early on from getting that triplex, I realized I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I know that I want to be a real estate investor. Like I got the bug very quickly. And so in the meantime, COVID happened. And I say in the meantime to be nice to myself, but literally we closed on that first triplex in January of 2020 and then moved in March 1st of 2020. So we didn't have a lot of time to enjoy it before COVID hit. But that was in Chicago. That's where we met and that's where we got started. So in the meantime, it was like, oh my gosh, we love this, we love the concept, but the world is basically ending. And we had great tenants and not so great tenants, and it was like, where can we go where it's going to make more sense for us and we can actually keep doing this but learn to do it in a better way, more efficient way. So we moved to Texas for a number of reasons, but real estate was a big one. And we started buying single family homes. But eventually we realized, hey, if this is the long-term play, this is way too slow. And that's right around the time that we found one of those mastermind. There's 1,000 out there nowadays, it feels like. But
Yeah.
back in the day, for me, I thought that was the one. I thought, oh my gosh, we found the one group who is going to teach us how to do this thing. Let's go for it. And so that's when we made the transition, because we had that mindset of, we know we want to do real estate, but we need to scale faster. And that mastermind was the switch for us into getting into commercial buildings.
Okay, so when you got that first commercial deal, tell us a little bit about that and what you learned and what advice you'd give to somebody considering their first one.
Yes. So my main advice for multifamily investing, especially if you're going to be on the apartment side, right? Like multifamily can be a number of different asset types. But if you're going to be on the apartment side, or even doing anything, my tip is to start passively. And that's what I did on my first one. So what happened was, my husband and I knew, okay, we want to start buying apartment complexes. Because of our background, we know that we want to be active investors. Ideally, we want to be asset managers. So we want to be the ones who are in charge of managing the property managers. But at the same time, we also know that we're going to be on the investor relations side. And we also know that we're doing this to scale our portfolio faster and make our money work for us faster, rather than sit idle. So what we decided to do is, since we're going to have to talk to other investors about what it feels like, we need to be passive investors first. We need to learn when it's somebody else making the decisions and kind of having the responsibility, the fiduciary responsibility of handling someone's money. And we really need to see what it looks like when it's not us in charge, I guess. So our first apartment complex, like an actual apartment that was 65 units, was the first one that we got on. We did that passively. And that would be my tip, is that we were able to learn a lot. We're still learning a lot. I literally was on an asset management call right before this, because we said, hey, we're going to invest passively because we want to see that side of the fence, but we also want to learn, and is there a way to observe? And so weekly, we're able to sit on the asset management calls, as long as we don't participate, because we're supposed to be observants. But that was a big thing for us, is that we wanted to be able to gain those lessons before we were the ones in charge.
That's great. I started as a passive as well. So I think that's a wonderful way to start. I hadn't thought to actually just ask to be on all the calls. That's really wise. Yes.
And now it's part of
I learned the process, but more like just, okay, this is what it feels to be a passive. This is what it feels to be a passive investor, when the active investor is very communicative and does a great job. And here's where it is, but they're not communicative and not such a great job. And, and like getting to learn the good and the bad from being in the seat of the passive investor. But I hadn't thought to go, hey, how can I sit in and just observe what you guys are doing on the active side?
And now it's definitely part of our giving back strategy. It hasn't happened yet where we've been able to do it, but we've been very open to say, like, hey, if we have a deal where we're able to bring you on as an LP, but you want to listen in, like, please ask. We're not, we have worked with different teams, so obviously we have to make sure that it's okay with them. But as far as my husband and I are concerned at the M2RE, we're all about that, because that was offered to us and we have seen a lot of value in that. So
yeah, for sure. And I think also that transparency, it means a lot to be able to be, investing with people, to be transparent. I know that's something that I try to do with our passive investors, and so just like saying, come on in, check things out is really helpful. All right. So one of the things I love about what you're doing too is, helping busy professionals, people who have full plates, to create passive income. So for somebody who's thinking, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, what do you say to them?
I would say you always have the time to really invest in yourself. I mean, obviously, I would also say like do it passively, right? Like that's the um, easy answer where it's like just put your money somewhere on a project. And again, it doesn't matter what asset type it is. I always tell my investors, don't do anything that's going to keep you up at night. Actually invest in things that excite you to learn about. Like if you don't want to learn about, I don't know, storage units, I'm just throwing one out there, or RV parks are a big thing right now. If that's not something that interests you for whatever reason, personally, then don't invest in that, because every time you're going to have to self-educate, you're going to find it boring, you're going to procrastinate, it's not going to work out. So I always say, like, yeah, invest passively, but first remember that you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your own education. You're going to have to spend some time, some money to get the tools you need, even if it's just mental, to actually understand, okay, what am I getting into here? And you can always ask those questions of the active team that you're collaborating with. Another thing that I always say too is reach out if you have questions, even if it's not our deal. Like, we're in the trenches with you. We're both active and passive. So if you have questions about somebody else project and you just don't understand a term or something, and for whatever reason you don't want to ask them, reach out to us. Like we'll help. We don't care if you're not investing in our project. But the bottom line is just do your own due diligence and understand that this is going to take some time, and sometimes some money as well, beyond the money that you're investing. You're going to have to invest in, like, books and podcasts at the minimum, but maybe even in like underwriting tools and conferences and meetups at, like, if we're doing it like on a very big scale. And that's one thing that I'll place here, is that's why I don't really like to say passive income, because to me it's more residual income. Like, even if you are a passive investor, you still have work to do. It just all happens before you place your money, and then you kind of sit back and relax. Yes, you have to track the investment, but that's about it. You're not really going to have any day-to-day decision making power. All of that happens before, so use it well.
Yeah, you definitely need to do due diligence beforehand. I mean, one thing you said that you said, yeah, people can ask you questions if they don't feel comfortable asking questions to their to the sponsor on the deal they're considering. So my advice would be, if you do not feel comfortable even asking questions, you should not give them your money, right? Like, you're giving people that you're like would be, are open to answering questions, right? Making sure you're comfortable and educated. And then if you don't feel comfortable asking questions, I think maybe you don't need any more questions.
That's a good point.
That's your answer right there. If you're debating, then, but don't worry about looking stupid or not knowing all these like complicated terms, because I'm sure, Linda, you were probably like me. A lot of those, they were like, wait, NOI, IRR. Oh, like when I first heard, I was like, well, what? Cap rates. I was like, I don't know what any of this means. And multiples, and you're like, what? So it's totally okay if you see these things for the first time, you're like, I don't understand. That's normal. So just
Absolutely.
that's with people who will answer your questions and can help explain. So I like that you're open to that, Linda. That makes a big difference. All right, so now it's time to get a little real, because the journey isn't always glamorous. So right now we've been talking, we're like, yeah, and I did this deal and I did that deal and these houses, and that's what, and it sounds all so great, right? And I'm sure it's all been perfect and there's never been a tough second. But maybe you have had some hard moments. So what's one of the hardest moments you faced in your investing career, and how did you push through it?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story about my triplex. And it's funny that I like the way you answer the question where you say, maybe you haven't gone through all that. And it reminds me of a LinkedIn post that I saw recently where somebody, I think they were talking about a lender, and they were saying, have you ever gone through a lender leaving you hanging at the closing table, or is it your first day in real estate? Because because at some point, real estate is one of the like top top industry on the list of, it's not if, it's when. Something will go wrong at some point, and it's okay. So it's okay to embrace it. And I think that's another tip too, if you just start getting started, is don't expect that it's gonna be all pink and beautiful, because that way, when, excuse my French, shit hits the fan, like you were prepared for it. But to go back to the actual question, yeah, so my first triplex, be careful what you wish for, because when we bought it during COVID, it did sit empty for a while. And at first, I was crying my eyes out over it, and telling my husband this was the worst decision that we ever made in our life, to buy this building. Now we have this crazy mortgage because we're paying for three different units, and two of them were empty. The third one, it was us in it. So I was very much defeated by the pandemic, and thinking like this was the worst time ever. So that was one of those times when, vacancy is a real thing. And for me, that's another reason why I like multifamily, is because the bigger the asset, the less vacancy will hurt you. When you only have one house or one duplex or one triplex, quad starts to be a little bit easier. But then all of a sudden you have one vacancy or two, that's it. That's your whole income gone. So that's the first thing that was not so fun that we went through for months, by the way. It wasn't like a one or two, it was literally six, until we found renters because of the climate at the time. And then I said, be careful of what you wish for, because once we did find tenants, and somehow, I don't know if that was a trick of the universe, but they both moved in pretty much the same month. And like I mentioned earlier, we had great ones and we had not so great ones. And the funny story that I always tell is that the not so great ones catfished us. Yeah, and I say that to be funny, but basically somebody signed a lease and someone else moved in. And it's never fun when it happens, because what can you do? I mean, I have asked myself that for the last, in 4 months, it will be our 6-year anniversary since that first property. And for the last 6 years, it feels like I've been wondering, what could we have done differently? And literally nothing, right? Like the only thing you can do is evict faster once you realize that the person who moved in is not the right one. Except for us, it was COVID, so we couldn't evict. And so sometimes you go through those moments where it's the perfect storm, and all you can do.
Pay rent, or were they?
I'm sorry.
Did they pay rent, or did they just like?
So it was a mom who signed the lease, and at first she was on auto pay. And my husband always jokes that she was willing to do that to get rid of her adult son and his girlfriend and their kids, because that's who actually moved in. And so the second she stopped her auto pay, that's when they stopped paying. So I guess they were supposed to pick up the baton and they never did. So at first they were payments, they were just not so good neighbors. But then once she stopped paying and they did not start, that's when it became the most difficult, because now it's like, okay, so not only it's not a great environment to live next to, but now you're also not helping me with the mortgage, where everybody is now at risk of getting evicted, like even the good tenants upstairs who have nothing to do with it. So yeah, those are the not so rosy parts, but it happens. You just have to I think it's something that we'll talk about in just a minute, but you just have to have the right financial reserves and mental tenacity to push through.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, you were talking about that LinkedIn post you said you saw, because I realized, like, wait, my first property, my lenders pulled out a week before we got to close. Yeah, that does happen. Yeah, there's always something that takes place. It's not glamorous. It definitely is challenging, but the rewards are worth it in the end.
Yes.
So you've accomplished a lot so far. You said it's been about 6 years since you got in the game. What's your big vision for MTRE and the impact you want to make over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for asking this question, because The short answer is that I want to get into senior housing. The long answer is that my mom has been a nurse for like 3 or 4 decades now, maybe not four. Let me not age her, but at least three. And so she has been doing geriatric care for probably half of that. So when I was 18, 19, 20, those were the first jobs that I had too. Whenever I wasn't selling something, I was doing admin things or maintenance things at nursing homes. And number one, I saw how our elders can be treated in certain facilities. That never sat well with me. Number two, I'm now getting my mom to move to America. So this is going to be like a mother and daughter adventure for us that I'm super excited about. And number three, it's the market. I think that we have a tremendous opportunity right now. Everybody wants to say, oh, boomers are retiring by their businesses or by their houses, right? But it's like, okay, but if you buy their business and if you buy their house, where are they going to go? They're not just going to, it's morbid, but they're not just going to die because all of a sudden they don't have a job to go to or house to live in, or they're downgrading. So for me, I think it's important to really have that, to really build that empire. let's be bold. To really build that empire that's based on obviously making a profit because there's a real demand for it, but most importantly making a profit through helping a population that needs it. That for me, I'm like, I come from a culture where you don't put your elders in nursing homes, but I've also seen families where they don't have a choice. And I want to be able to help both and really make sure that seniors are well taken care of, even when they cannot stay in their house.
I love that. And it's true. With the boomers, I think 10,000 people a day are turning 85. And that housing is so needed. So that's a wise area to be going into. I love that. Okay. So for those listening who are inspired and want to learn more, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I'm always on LinkedIn, as you heard earlier. So Linda Holtz, pretty easy. Find me there. Our company is Married to Real Estate because it's me and my husband. So our website is married2realestate.com. On Instagram and Facebook, it's M2RETX, since we're in Texas. And those are all the places. Obviously, on the website, you'll have my phone number, my email address. Those are all our personal information, which it's crazy to me that we live in a world where it's all out there. But it is. So definitely reach out. Like I said earlier, if there's anything we can do to help, even if it has nothing to do with what we're investing in, we love to give back. When we found out that you could syndicate deals and that you didn't have to do it all alone and still buy some bigger assets, our first reaction was, wait, you could do what? And how come they don't talk about it on TV? Or like, so for us, we're all about passing the word and helping everyone on their own journey. So reach out.
I had that same reaction when I first found out about it. Okay, so now it's time for our famed end of show Trinity, which is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. So what are you celebrating right now? What is your brag?
Yeah, so right now we're working on a project. We've been working on it for a couple of months now. And when I say a couple of months, I'm trying to be nice. And it's finally going to go through next month. And that's going to bring our portfolio to 397 doors. So that's my brag. I'm super excited about that.
That's great. And what is one thing you're grateful for?
I'm always grateful for my family. I'm super grateful to my husband. I have so much respect for people who get in the game by themselves. That couldn't be me. I need somebody at home on the nights where I'm crying my eyes out and people don't see it because we don't post that on Instagram and LinkedIn, but it happens. I'm so grateful that my husband is here to be like, it's okay, we wanted this. So I'm very grateful to him and to my family in general for supporting us on this journey.
Oh, beautiful gratitude. And I get it. I'm so happy I'm on this journey with my husband too. So. And to be able to work well together. That is such a blessing.
True. That's a podcast episode for another time.
All right. Last but not least, what's one desire? Something you're calling in for the future?
So my desires is really going back to that passion project of mine is really to be able to help as many people from all different sides. So like, yes, I want to invest in senior housing, but I think that the beauty of multifamily that doesn't get talked about enough is that you're not just going to help your investors. You're going to help the people who work there. You're going to help all the service providers who make a project come true. You're going to help obviously the residents. And so for me, that's my desire, is to build such a big machine, not just for the money, but that in order to help so many people, and not, again, not just the passive investors. Obviously we love to help passive investors get access to um, wealth, and generational wealth is the buzzword that gets thrown everywhere out there. uh, but I think that, yeah, people don't remember enough. Every property is going to have a property manager and a maintenance person, right? And people who actually do live there, and their own families or their own pets, for all that matters. And yeah, for my desire is to be able to build something big that helps all of us.
I love that. I love this ripple effect of prosperity. That is your desire. Well, so shall your desire be, or so much better than you can imagine.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your story with us. Thank you for the inspiration of coming with 2 suitcases and now having this multifamily success. It's really a story about courage and persistence. And I know that everyone listening is walking away inspired. So thank you. Y'all, again, if you want to connect more with Linda, make sure to follow her on social media, MTRETX on Facebook. Go find her on LinkedIn. Go to marriedtorealestate.com. And if you've been listening and you're thinking, I'd love to explore passive investing opportunities, I also want to invite you to join our investor club at reigoddesses.com. That's where you can get access to deals that we are doing, resources to help you grow, and a community of women who are building wealth together. So thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another awesome interview like this one. And let's get real, build wealth, and stay real. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.